Welcome to Virtual Protocol Podcast.
Imagine waking up, walking into your kitchen, ready to make your morning coffee, and you realize that overnight the entire architecture of the room has just completely changed.
Right, like the refrigerator is suddenly embedded in the ceiling.
Exactly. The fridge is in the ceiling, the sink needs a verbal command to give you water, and there's just like this glowing metallic cylinder sitting where your stove used to be.
You'd be totally paralyzed.
I mean, I wouldn't even know how to boil an egg. And honestly, welcome to the deep dive. Because today we're looking at a source that feels exactly like that scenario. We're unpacking a newly updated AI survival roadmap from tech creator Tina Huang.
And setting the baseline here is really critical.
Yeah.
Because it's May 2026, and the technological architecture of our daily lives is literally rearranging itself overnight.
Yeah, the timeline in this source material is just wild. Our mission today is to cut through all the noise because there are, upwards of 10 new AI tools releasing every single day?
At least. Honestly, the most startling detail isn't even the software itself. It's that the creator had to completely overhaul this curriculum just 5 months after publishing the last version.
5 months? That's no time at all. So for you listening, if you want to stay sharp without drowning in that info overload, we're charting a really clear progression today. We are going from base survival skills to intermediate local automation, all the way to the boss level of agentic engineering.
Right, because mastering AI in 2026 cannot just be about memorizing the user interface of an app that drops on a Tuesday. I mean, the interface will probably change by Friday.
Exactly. It's about structural understanding. And speaking of structure, let's jump straight into the first basic skill on this roadmap, because I'm not going to lie, it completely threw me off.
The investment thesis.
Yes. I was expecting step 1 to be like advanced prompting or how to pick a chatbot, but the absolute foundation of her pyramid is personal finance. I had to read that twice. Why are we talking about investment portfolios on an AI tech roadmap?
Well, it seems disconnected until you look at the macroeconomics of the tech sector right now. The source highlights this massive blind spot that most professionals have.
Okay, lay it on me.
So if you hold standard index funds, say you've got your retirement in a fund tracking the S&P 500, you probably think, okay, I've got a diversified safe portfolio, right?
Yeah, that's standard financial advice. You're invested in the whole market.
But the reality is the market cap of those indices is now so heavily dominated by companies either making AI silicon or training frontier models that you basically just hold a massive concentrated bet on the AI sector.
Oh, wow. So whether you want to or not, you already have default exposure to AI.
Exactly. And the creator points out that this is a huge vulnerability, especially if you work in an industry susceptible to AI disruption.
Right, because if AI can automate your day job, your paycheck is at risk. But wait, if your 401k is also heavily leaning on AI stocks, you're risking a simultaneous hit if the tech sector crashes.
Yes. Or if there's a regulatory crackdown on AI, right? The creator uses her own careers as an example. She's a tech YouTuber and a software entrepreneur. Her daily income is hyper-exposed to AI volatility.
So she's intentionally hedging her investments away from AI to balance the risk. She's managing the portfolio of her entire life, not just her brokerage account. That is incredibly smart.
It really is. It's about intentional risk management. Once you get that systemic risk handled, then the roadmap shifts to the actual daily usage of the tech.
And again, the advice is totally counterintuitive. She advocates for strict tool minimalism, which I love, honestly. Chasing every daily AI release is like trying to drink from a fire hose while running on a treadmill.
That's a great way to put it. The directive here is to pick a single general model, like Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, Rasa, or Poe, and just ignore the rest.
But wait, why? Don't you want to use the best tool for every specific job?
Well, the mechanism behind the minimalism is cognitive load. These models have, distinct architectural quirks. They process context differently. Their latencies vary.
Oh, right. So if you're constantly jumping between 5 different chatbots, you never actually learn how any of them think. You're just fighting the UI.
Exactly. By isolating your use to one frontier model, you learn its specific failure modes. You learn exactly how much context it needs to prototype an app or summarize a document without hallucinating.
Though she does make an exception for highly specialized tasks, right? Like if the general model just fundamentally can't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like using Perplexity when you need real-time cited web research, or Notebook LM if you need to build a localized knowledge graph out of your own massive document library.
Or tools like Jasper or Surfer SEO if you're deep into digital marketing. But the rule of thumb is to keep your ecosystem as lean as possible.
Right. But here's the thing about that foundational stage. A lean ecosystem is great, but it still requires a manual operational loop. You are still the conductor.
Right, one prompt gets one response, then the system just sits there waiting for you. That one-to-one latency is basically the ceiling of the beginner stage.
Exactly. Which creates this natural forcing function to jump to the intermediate level. Because if you spend 2 hours breaking down a project into 20 different prompts, you haven't really saved time.
No, you've just turned yourself into a middle manager for a chatbot. We need the system to manage its own execution, and that is the leap from basic chat interfaces to AI agents.
The core difference here is autonomy. An agent isn't just a text box. It's a system with an overarching goal, localized memory, and the ability to use external tools.
So you give it a goal, and it uses a reasoning framework to actually break that goal into steps. It does step 1, checks the result, and uses that to figure out step 2.
Yes, and the source has this fantastic, really practical example. The creator needed to decorate a new office space.
Oh, the Manus example. I love this part. Because a normal chatbot would just spit out a generic list of furniture if you asked for a light academia aesthetic.
Right, but Manus is an agent. She uploaded a picture of the empty office. It didn't just look at the vibe. It actually extracted the spatial dimensions of the room.
It did the spatial reasoning itself? That's wild.
And then it cross-referenced those physical constraints with the aesthetic, autonomously queried e-commerce databases, checked what was actually in stock, and came back with specific links to rugs and lamps that fit perfectly.
It literally collapsed what would have been hours of scrolling and measuring into one automated sequence. But reading this part of the roadmap also raised a massive red flag for me.
The privacy issue.
Yeah, the privacy nightmare, because the roadmap pushes you from web agents like Manus toward local AI agents like Kuwork, OpenClaw, or Hermes. And the creator talks about having an agent monitor her Google Calendar, her private Gmail, her investments, her Slack.
It sounds incredibly invasive.
It does. Handing over API keys for my bank accounts and corporate Slack to an autonomous AI, that sounds like a catastrophic security breach waiting to happen.
Your reaction is totally justified. And it's exactly why the source heavily emphasizes migrating to local open source models at this tier.
Because if you use a closed source model like the big ones from OpenAI or Anthropic, your data is leaving your machine.
Right. You are transmitting your raw, private data across the internet to sit on their server farms. You're outsourcing your cognition to a public utility.
Meaning my financial ledgers are just hanging out in some third-party cache. No, thank you.
Unacceptable for sensitive stuff. So the alternative is using open source models, things like Llama, Kimi, or Minimax. The crucial distinction is computational locality.
Meaning it runs directly on my own hardware.
Exactly. You download the weights of the model to your laptop. When you ask it to summarize your private Slack, all of the neural network processing happens right there on your own GPU.
So the data never actually crosses the physical perimeter of my laptop. The internet connection is essentially severed.
Right. Even if these local models are maybe a tiny bit behind the massive cloud models in raw reasoning, they offer absolute cryptographic privacy. You can build these deeply invasive daily workflows without ever exposing your data.
Okay, that makes sense. So the intermediate stage is basically building a secure local robotic assistant for your personal friction. But the roadmap goes further. It hits what she calls the boss level.
The advanced frontier. This is where we move from personal productivity to actual commercial leverage, building enterprise-grade agentic pipelines.
Because automating your morning digest is cool, but it's not a career. Turning this into a commercial advantage is where the demand is.
Right, and the transition from personal to commercial is all about reliability and scale. If your personal agent hallucinates a calendar event, it's annoying.
If an enterprise agent hallucinates a financial metric in a private equity board report, someone gets fired.
Exactly. And the source details work done by the creators company, Lonely Octopus. They actually build these custom pipelines for businesses.
The private equity example they shared was mind-blowing because traditionally generating KPI reports means analysts manually logging into like 5 different CRMs, running SQL queries, exporting to Excel, formatting it.
It's incredibly manual and error-prone.
Mm.
But Lonely Octopus engineered a pipeline to replace that entire loop. They deployed an agentic system on a set schedule.
So it just wakes up, logs into the CRMs, pulls the databases, synthesizes everything, and pushes a polished summary to the board's dashboard. 0 humans involved.
They did something similar for HR, too, building custom onboarding agents that track new hires through compliance training and software setup totally autonomously.
But wait, to make that actually work without breaking, you have to solve a huge translation issue, right? Because an AI speaks in conversational probabilistic language. A Salesforce database speaks in rigid code.
Yes, and if the AI hallucinates even a single comma in an API request, the entire pipeline crashes. This is where the roadmap introduces MCPs, or Model Context Protocols.
Which she highlights as one of the most critical skills to learn by 2026.
Absolutely. Before MCPs, developers had to write these really fragile scripts just begging the AI to output the right JSON format. It was a nightmare. But an MCP acts as a standardized translation layer.
So it formally defines exactly what tools and data structures the AI is allowed to use. It essentially hands the AI a rigid menu, forcing its output to match the software's exact syntax.
Exactly. It removes the probabilistic guessing game. And that stabilization is what makes commercial deployment actually viable.
And what's crazy is that the barrier to deploying these systems is dropping to basically zero, thanks to rapid deployment tools. Like, the roadmap talks about a tool called Bolt.
Oh, Bolt is fascinating. It lets you go from plain English ideas to fully deployed web apps.
The anecdote she gave was so cool. She used Bolt to build a landing page for an AI bootcamp, but she wanted this dynamic, animated purple shader in the background.
Which conventionally requires some pretty complex WebGL rendering logic and math.
Right, but she didn't write a line of it. She used this prompt tweak loop. She just described what she wanted in plain English. Bolt used MCPs to autonomously grab the rendering library, write the JavaScript, and spin up a preview.
And when she wanted to change it, she didn't open a code editor.
Nope. She just typed, "slow down the wave animation." And the system understood her intent, found the exact integer controlling the speed, and changed it instantly.
That prompt tweak loop completely disrupts the economics of making software. Which brings us to the climax here: agentic engineering, or AI coding.
The boss level. And the cost savings are staggering. She said they're seeing, like, a 10x compression in time and money.
A 10x compression changes everything. An enterprise tool that used to take a year and $1 million to build now takes a month and $100,000.
She even does this in her personal life. She literally uses AI coding to clone existing SaaS applications just so she doesn't have to pay monthly subscription fees. If she needs a budgeting app, she just prompts her system to build a replica and hosts it for free.
And if you scale that behavior across millions of users, it's an existential threat to the entire software as a service industry. If software costs nothing to make, you can't charge a premium for it.
Okay, but this brings up a major pushback I had while reading, because she explicitly warns that trying to use these AI coding tools without actually knowing how to code yourself and she uses this analogy like putting lipstick on a pig.
Right. She insists you still need to dedicate months to learning traditional programming.
But why? If the AI is writing the functions, handling the syntax, and doing all the heavy lifting, why do I need to spend 3 months learning Python? Isn't that the whole point of the AI?
It sounds totally contradictory. But the roadmap uses this brilliant analogy about building a house. Building software with AI is like hiring a master builder who works incredibly fast, but they only speak a language you don't know, and they refuse to give you the blueprints.
Okay, so the house looks beautiful on the outside, you move in, and for the first few weeks, everything is perfect.
But then a pipe bursts inside the wall. Or you decide you want to add a second floor.
And because you don't speak the builder's language and you have no blueprints, you are completely helpless. You don't know which walls are load-bearing or where the plumbing intersects the electrical grid.
Exactly. And that is the mechanism of failure in agentic engineering. You're generating massive code bases so fast, you are accumulating technical debt blindly.
So eventually you get a silent failure. Like the code runs, but the data is routing to the wrong place. Or two libraries conflict.
And if you don't actually understand code logic, you can't read the error log. You can't figure out what broke.
And if I can't figure out what broke, I can't write a prompt to tell the AI how to fix it. I'm totally paralyzed by the tool that was supposed to save me.
The whole system just collapses. The AI is a multiplier for your knowledge. But 1 million multiplied by 0 is still 0. You don't need to memorize syntax anymore, but you absolutely have to understand system architecture and logical flow.
That is a stark reality check. Wow, we have really navigated a massive progression today.
We really have. From personal finance all the way to enterprise code.
Right, we started by realizing survival means auditing our investments, hedging against our own career exposure to the tech sector. Then we embraced tool minimalism, mastering just one frontier model instead of chasing trends.
And from there, the shift to autonomy. using local AI agents like Manus or Hermes to handle complex spatial reasoning and daily administrative tasks without ever leaking our private data to the cloud.
And finally, that enterprise frontier, using MCPs to stabilize API connections and confronting the massive economic leverage of agentic engineering.
But I think it's crucial to remind everyone what the creator established early on. You do not have to reach the boss level of agentic engineering to be successful in 2026.
That's a relief, honestly.
Yeah, just building simple, local, secure workflows to handle your daily friction is a massive advantage. You only need the advanced coding skills if you actively want to compete in the commercial software space.
That distinction really clears things up. You can tailor your depth to your actual goals. But, tracing this whole trajectory from basic chatbots to systems that can clone entire companies in an afternoon, it leaves me with this really profound question about the future.
Where does the value go?
Exactly. If agentic engineering pushes the cost of execution down to zero, if anyone's local agent can write flawless code and build identical apps on command, what happens to the value of human output? If the machine builds the house in 10 seconds, the physical act of building isn't valuable anymore.
It's totally commoditized.
Right. So maybe the most critical skill for the future isn't learning how to operate the machine at all. As the friction of creation vanishes, maybe the only true scarcity left in the market will just be human intuition. Just having the most original, deeply human idea to feed into the machine in the first place.